Okay, welcome to those that are joining us from home. This is a meeting of the Poquoson City Council for Monday, April 23rd of 2018. If we could all please rise, I'll lead you in the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and for the many blessings that we received in our city in the last couple weeks. As we move forward on issues before us this evening, predominantly our financial plan and thinking about our employees and their well-being, guide us in those. And especially, Lord, keep us mindful of those in need as we do things with taxes that may influence people within our community. We ask for a special blessing on those that serve in our military as well as our public safety employees and their families. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have one special presentation this evening. I'm assuming that this is on. Tanya, if you'll join me up here. And this is the Government Finance Officers Association Government of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. It's given to the city of Poquoson probably now for the last 24 to 23 years. Buddy, how long have we been on council?
20 with a 2-year.
Oh, okay. Forever. But while I make light of that, what it does say is that the citizens in our city should know that their money is well accounted for, and I will tell you that that is a luxury that many cities do not have. And it's due to the work in our finance office, Tanya and her staff, as well as our city manager, to make sure that we do things above board. So it's with great honor that I present you this.
Thank you.
All right. Would you like to say anything? If you can squeeze back here.
No, thank you. I'd also like to point out I need to thank the school board too, because part of this also includes the school's information. So this is definitely a joint effort between the school boards and the finance department, and as he stated, the city manager. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now it's time for the audience for visitors. I will remind those in the audience, my staff, the staff of the city here, that we do have 2 public hearings before us this evening. But if anybody would like to address council on any subject, now is that time. Seeing none, I'll close the audience for visitors and ask council for consideration of the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve our minutes of our regular session of April 9th, 2018.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we approve the regular session of April 9th. Questions or comments? Seeing none, Evie, please.
Councilman Southall,
Abstain.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Hucks,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried with vote 6-0 with 1 abstention.
Okay, and the work session of the same evening?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve our work session minutes of that same evening.
Second.
Questions or comments on that motion? Okay, not Evie, please.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Hucks,
Aye.
Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilman Southall, Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 6-0 with 1 abstention.
Okay. Now we're on to the public hearing section. The first item under the public hearing is the proposed 2018-2019 annual financial plan. This is the first reading of that plan, and then we will have a public hearing after that. While we will hold a separate public hearing for the proposed real estate property tax I will ask that Randy brief that at least at the same time, and then we'll have the second public hearing. All right, so Randy?
Mr. Mayor, I'm in need of finding the clicker. Hold on one second.
Here it comes.
There we go. I know. Well, they don't let me hold it because it's someone else's. Members of council, we had a work session not 25 minutes ago on the same topic, and I'll try not to be redundant, but knowing that there may be folks that are watching us at home that have not had an opportunity to either see that work session or the previous one, what I've prepared for you this evening is a summarized version of the presentation that I provided to you at the last meeting. I would note to you and to the members of the public, there is extensive detail in support of this. Copies of the budget are available online and in the library and in my office and the finance office. If you'd like to see that, I would encourage you to do so. So I'll go quickly. As we always do, we start with how are we doing in the current fiscal year. Our situation is stable. Our reserves have been met. Our general fund revenues overall are performing as expected, and our enterprise funds are sound. For those council members that have not been here for more than a couple of terms, you may, those that have, you'll recall where we couldn't say that last bullet, and several years ago, you all made some significant changes to put all of our enterprise funds on a sound basis. It's worth, now we sort of take it for granted, but it really is a result of some hard and very good decisions that you made. People want to know about the budget, and one of the things they always ask is there a tax rate increase? And as I said when I presented this the first time, I had actually put this towards the back of my presentation. Tanya did a draft which put it up forward, and I thought, well, you know what, she's probably right. But essentially, what we've done is we've given you a basic budget that continues city government operations and also maintains the level of requested contribution to schools within the current tax rates. There's not a lot of extra capacity in that budget. There's a 2% pay increase in that budget. But there are two significant new initiatives in this budget. The first is a 6-cent tax increase, and that is to provide the funding for the constrained capital improvements plan, which was briefed extensively by your financial advisor at your last meeting. But essentially, this sets up the funding necessary to move forward with the $23 million that you approximately that you have previously provided guidance on with regard to the constrained capital improvements plan. The second priority there, new initiative, is a 1-cent tax increase to provide an amount of funding to support the ongoing work of the School Safety Committee, who will be coming back and making recommendations to you within the next week or so. At present, it is just an amount of money waiting reallocation based on the conclusion of their work and your acceptance thereof. I would note there is one significant fee increase, and that's the revenue recovery. We've had a revenue recovery plan for at least 8 years. These are just two areas that we are now also allowed to charge that. One is for refusals, and the other is for oxygen. There are no proposed changes to the enterprise fund fees. As I said previously, the basic budget is designed to stay within the level tax rate environment. The tax rate increases are tied specifically to two new initiatives, both of which were endorsed for consideration by the council. We maintain compliance with our adopted fiscal financial policies, and all ongoing revenue is used to support ongoing expenses. We don't use one-time reserves or anything else to support our ongoing budget. We talked extensively about this last time. I won't go over it point by point, but you can see when we think about a budget, these are the elements that we look at as a sort of at a high level. The base budgets of both the city and the school. We still would like to get to a salary study and implementation. We've also looked at capital maintenance and equipment replacement, new staff when we can afford it, new facilities when we can afford it, and in this case, the 2 new initiatives. As you know, we've made some advance in some of those areas within this budget, helped along by the fact that the school board did not request an increase in local support this year. I won't go through each one of those because we talked about them already, but we go through the city-based budget and we go through each department and budget line items. Some are increased, some are decreased, to try to make sure that we can do what it is where our current mission is. And then there are some larger things within that, like the VRS rate increase and the health insurance, that together are a significant driver in our budget. We already talked about the pay study. Due to funding constraints, what the budget does have in it is a 2% pay increase, effective the first full pay period of 2019. We do have significant different capital maintenance and replacement things in our CIP, and we're moving, as we move further into the constrained CIP, into the years, we'll have more. But as you'll recall, we get a fairly significant amount of money from VDOT, now significant, not sufficient, for street paving. The Wythe Creek specifically repaving project is something that you approved, I believe, last October. So we have a local match, though that's in the budget. Same for the Poquoson Avenue sidewalk project, which is designed to connect the middle school campus with the high school campus, both of which should kick off next year. And in the constrained capital improvements plan phase 1, there you can see the highlights of that. The most significant of which is approximately $17 million for the middle school renovation. There is at present a recommendation also in phase 1, which came from the school board, to move forward with the replacement of 1 bus. And council members will recall, previously you allocated a significant amount of money, but not the entire amount of money for the replacement of engine 102. So that's in the constrained plan first year, phase 1 borrowing, as well as finishing out the HVAC system replacement in this building, which you may have noticed, depending on when you came here today, that actually the money that you had approved several meetings ago for the first part of that, there were all sorts of cranes bringing in new units to the portion that you have already funded. So this, by the end of next week, those areas should be up and running, I'm told. And a reservation in the plan of a relatively small, in terms of the size of the mandate, amount of money for the TMDL unfunded environmental mandate. There were several new, 2 or 3 positions requested in the budget, both easily justified, as well as some additional staff support requested in general services. But within the basic budget, it became a question of, do we provide that 2% pay increase, or do we do this? And so, my recommendation was to do the pay increase. I would note for you that there is contemplated at least one position coming out of your March 26 resolution, and likely a byproduct of the School Safety Committee's recommendations to you, was certainly embedded in the text of that resolution. And so there is money for that, and it is the only new staff position recommended in the city budget. And as we wrap up, just to give people a sense of the total requested budget, and you'll see that number there at approximately $29.6 million. That, if we did everything that everyone asked for, that would require an overall real estate tax rate of $1.18, which would be an 11-cent increase, what you have as my recommendation, which incorporates, again, both of your initiatives as council, is a slightly smaller budget, approximately $29 million, with a real estate rate of $1.14, which is a net increase of 7 cents. Final slide, I think. We are presently at bullet number 1. We had the night of the budget public hearing. Previously, we had this evening joint session with the school board to discuss their budget, as well as a city budget work session. Scheduled adoption is the 14th of May, and should the council wish to have one or more additional work sessions between now and then, that certainly can be scheduled at the request of council. And finally, that again is where you can find copies of the full document. I encourage folks to access it in whichever way works best for them. And that's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to the entire city staff for working so hard in this budget season and putting this together so that council can move forward with adoption in the coming weeks. I think the only other thing that, just for the general knowledge of those out in the community, is that the state has not finalized their budget. So while we don't anticipate any drastic changes in our budget, we are waiting for that step, because it particularly affects the schools and as well as the localities as far as VDOT funds and the like. So once that becomes adopted, and if it doesn't become adopted, I think they go straight to the governor's budget. Is that correct?
It's a bit murky. I can
Yes,
remember
it is.
years past when they've gone long, and
Yes.
they actually looked at the prospect of some limited state government shutdown. I hope it's not going to happen this time. In a county, you literally can go right up to the last day.
Mhm.
But because the city, like most cities and some counties, has a charter, the city council has 40 days from the submission of my budget to adopt the budget, or my budget becomes the budget.
Right.
So we're hopeful in the next 3 weeks, and we can probably squeeze a few more days into it, that the state will resolve their issue. Otherwise, we'll need to adopt at least a preliminary budget, and then if we have to make a budget amendment post-adoption, we'll just have to go through that process.
The only reason for my comment, not anything in my mind, I'm not fearful of them not coming to resolution. I think they will. I think I just want to make sure that everybody understands the moving parts and that's basically one thing we're waiting on. All right. With that said, we do have 2 public hearings this evening. Randy briefed the information in both of them, but I'm going to hold them separately. The first one is on the proposed 2018-2019 annual financial plan. This is the first reading, and if anybody in the public would like to speak, now is that time. Okay, seeing no speakers, I'll close the public hearing and ask for, we don't have to approve it. It is the first reading, so we'll just move forward. Okay. The second public hearing is on the proposed real estate property tax rates, and I'll open that public hearing and ask if there's anybody that wants to speak on that particular issue. Okay, seeing none, I'll close that public hearing as well, and we'll move on to new business. And as Randy kind of laid out the timeline that you can look for council to make action. The next item under new business is something that I've asked to have added to the agenda, and this is to receive comments for us on the ad hoc committee on school safety, which Councilman Hux is leading for us, which was a decision of all of council. And basically 2 particular meetings. One would be next Monday night to receive their report, which I'm very pleased to report that they're making tremendous progress towards being able to brief that out. And then a follow-up meeting on May 7th, which would allow the city to, we would make a vote on that particular night to authorize that plan if we wanted to turn in a grant application, is the way I understand what we are doing. And all of that is before budget adoption. So that seems to all work out. So Councilman Hux, if you'd like to add anything to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, just a brief update on the ad hoc school safety committee. We've met twice on April the 11th and April 18th. We've engaged in about 4.5 hours of discussion and presentations. We've gone from the very beginning to a point where we have draft recommendations in place due to a lot of cooperation, a lot of effort on many people. We hope to meet Wednesday of this week for the last time is the plan to finalize those recommendations to be presented to City Council and the school board at the joint work session on Monday, April 30th, provided tonight's resolution is adopted.
Okay. Yeah, the only clarification that I've got on that is the next Monday's meeting is a joint session with the school board to receive the report. Okay, I should have said that. It's a joint council and school board, so that we're not moving forward without them.
Do we have a time and place for that?
It'll be same Monday at 6
o'clock.
here.
Okay.
Both meetings will be at 6 o'clock in this room on the successive Mondays.
So with that said, do I have a motion to move forward with that?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution requesting a joint work session with the Poquoson School Board and the Ad Hoc Committee on School Safety and a special meeting of City Council.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we approve these two meetings via resolution. Questions or comments of council? Okay, seeing none, Evie, please.
Certainly. Councilman Canella?
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman?
Aye.
Councilman Southall?
Aye.
Councilman Hucks?
Aye.
Mayor Hunt?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor.
I passed on my chance to comment, but want to come back and just compliment Councilman Huck and his committee for pushing this thing along so aggressively. They haven't been appointed very long, and they've already got the recommendations together, so we appreciate that.
Thank you for that comment. All right, comments of the city manager, Randy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to take a moment to share with you my experience. Graham, on his own time, had his own experience. Both of us, in our capacity as citizens, had the opportunity to visit our every other weekend convenience site here at City Hall this past weekend. And it's never been as busy as, at least in my experience, as it was. Doug Montgomery told me they took 19 trucks out of here to be disposed of, 19 debris trucks. It really was a well-oiled machine. I want to compliment everybody in Public Works that's part of that. And I want to compliment also the citizens groups that has worked with us in the past to help us fine-tune how we do it. And lastly, I just want to thank and compliment all of our citizens who they're queuing up in this line that sometimes can snake past the circle. And they're sharing traffic in and out on a two-way road with people that are also going into the library and other things, and debris trucks coming out. And somehow, working together, it all works. And if anybody wasn't committed to that, it really could be a problem. And it was, it really made me feel good about my city, and for not the first time, really good about our Public Works Department. That's all I've got.
Well, that's good. That's well said, Randy. And I think it also reflects in the cleanliness of the city overall, so that we don't have a lot of trash on our streets and the like. So great job to city staff and to our citizens for doing that, and I appreciate that comments. So Councilman Hucks, anything else this evening?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor, no further comment.
Okay. Councilman Green?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just one thing to remind everybody that tomorrow is Food Bank Distribution Day at the old City Hall from 10 to 1. Due to the pending forecast, we will probably move most of it inside. The meat products are hard to transport inside the building, so that'll probably remain outside. But invite everybody to come that's qualified. And the host tomorrow are St. Timothy's Anglican Church and the Susanna Wesley Circle from Tabernacle United Methodist Church.
Okay, very good. Councilman Canella.
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Councilman Southall.
Yes, I'd like to thank Randy Wheeler and Tanya and the city staff, as well as Jennifer and the school board for their excellent work on the presentation of the budgets. They've certainly done an outstanding job on that. And also second the comments made by Vice Mayor Freeman on the excellent work of Councilman Hucks and his committee working so diligently on the school safety initiative.
Okay, very good. Councilwoman Andrews.
Just wanted to second that. Kudos to our city staff for the budget. I know it's not just the city staff, it's all the departments across the city. I do a budget in my real life, and I know how many requests I go out to people to make to get all that information that goes in the budget. So it's really all our city employees across the board that provide information to come up with that budget, and it is a lot of work to do that. And the school board budget is the same thing. You know, all the data requests that go out to put that together is a lot of work, and I really appreciate all the work that goes into that, because we really do have an excellent budget. And I was looking on my calendar, and May 5th in our city, there is a lot going on. So if you're in town May 5th, we have the Kiwanis Pig Roast going on that weekend. We have our Shop Local in Poquoson going on with a lot of the businesses doing something special that weekend. The Poquoson Museum is having their big World War II event, which I've been the liaison on that, and they really have a lot of stuff. They have stuff for kids, for all ages at that, and the Poquoson High School is having their sailing regatta that weekend, so you have your choice of a lot to do in Poquoson on May 5th, so take advantage of those things that we have going on in the city.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
That's just some of the things that make this such a great place to live. Two quick things. Councilman Southall and I went to a workforce development meeting today along with the school superintendent, and there's just all kinds of technical jobs available to our citizens if you take some effort to prepare yourself. Shipyard, any kind of construction, and medical are just practically hurting for people right now. And if I know you can get lots of certificates at our high school, but there's definitely a need for some trained people to fill these positions on our peninsula. Other thing, the United Way is pushing a kindness program where they're going to encourage us to be more kind, or kinder, I guess, to each other. So we're probably going to look at adopting that. Probably going to ask the mayor for a resolution by our next meeting. So everybody just kind of think about that and take, anytime you get a chance, try to be kind to somebody, and it means a lot. That's all.
I'm not sure I want to follow that one up. I mean, I'm all about kindness.
You don't believe in kindness?
No, I do. I just, I just didn't, you caught me by surprise, so I appreciate that. Hey, one thing, we met with Langley and NASA this morning, as we normally do once a quarter, and just put it on your calendars. Friday the 18th of May and the 19th of May is their annual air show. That is coming up in May. It's always exciting around the city of Poquoson because we get to see the air show before it ever starts, right? So it's always interesting to see that, but if you're planning on boating that weekend, it's a great time to go into the back river and witness the air show from that angle. I appreciate everything that has been said here. I'll second all of those comments. What I will say is that one group that we don't talk a lot about, but is basically our financial partner, is Davenport and Company, and we appreciate what they've done to enable us to put together several scenarios that helped us shape our budget. So we appreciate that service that they do provide to us, and that does help us quite a bit. So with that said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I was remiss in not mentioning one thing. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month for the Exchange Club, and in the past, the club has always gone to Farm Fresh and Food Line and other places just to hand out the pamphlets. Well, the chairman, Crosby Forrest, has decided this year we need to ramp it up a little bit, and he has made arrangements to be at the baseball fields on Saturday, April 28th, from 11:30 to 1:30. There will be free snow cones for the kids, and we'll be handing out child prevention abuse pamphlets to the parents. So everybody that can come out, we'd love to have you. I think it's going to be a great event and put a lot more emphasis on that program. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing that up. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Okay, Evie, please.
Certainly. Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Hucks,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0. We are
Okay.
adjourned.
And we are adjourned. If I had a gavel, I'd smack it. All right, thank you.